this question. Would you support the creation of an independent commission to perform the legislative redistricting that is done every 10 years?
Well, that is an issue that I have not given a lot of thought to, but I do think that what happens to certain communities, certainly in this district, Wakefield, has looked, when the last time there was redistricting, that community was broken in two. So now they are not going to have a state representative that will ever be from Wakefield, and that is a very big issue for that community. So I think what is important about redistricting, and probably why an independent commission would be a good idea, is to remove the politics of it and give the communities that we have a voice, and to make sure that it is done without political paybacks or chits being delivered, that it is done in an independent and fair way so that communities do not end up in the situation that Wakefield finds itself in.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, responsible property development is very important in the state that we're in. Melrose has gone through some district rezoning down on the Washington Street area. We have an affordable housing task force. We have the North Suburban Consortium, which takes federal money and brings it into the communities. And Melrose works with all of these. And I think they are, thank you, they are privately held companies. And I think that it may not be a bad idea. But again, that is not a question that I've actually researched thoroughly. So, but I do think that that might be a very good idea.
Okay. And our last question for the league portion of the questioning session is, starts with you, Mark. In the event of a conflict between the majority of your constituents of what they want and your best judgment, how would you vote?
Well, it's a great question, and thanks for asking it. My belief, as I've said before, as a representative, is to represent your constituents. And you're not always going to agree with me. You're not always going to agree with anybody that holds a position like this. But it's my belief that you are a representation of the body. So if the masses agree one way and it happens to differ from the way that I agree, I will certainly vote with the constituents.
Okay, Catherine?
I think that this is a difficult question in that it would so much depend on what the circumstances were. But I can tell you how I view this job. I think that a state representative is really a position that is closest to its local communities. And as a lawyer and someone who's been in public service, I know the importance of good lawmaking and how expensive through litigation and regulation and other things to try and undo bad lawmaking. And certainly representing these communities well in that process of making legislation, of getting the budget items we need, I consider very important. But the other piece of it that is equally important is sort of the constituent services and remaining in touch with these communities and helping people out with those local issues. So while I would like to say I would always go with the majority of what people want, and I think that my views and my values and what I see from the families that I know and other parents raising their children here, our values are in line. But there might be an occasion where I think that is also part of being a representative, where you have to make a tough call if you really feel there were extenuating circumstances that needed it.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the League of Women Voters set of questions. And each candidate was told that they would have the chance to ask the opposing candidate 2 questions. The guidelines for that are that the questions be concise and take no more than a minute to pose. The responding candidate would have a minute to answer, and then the candidate who asked the question gets 30 seconds to respond. Okay, Catherine, you get to ask the first question.
Okay. Mark, I think the challenges that face Melrose and Wakefield are really monumental at this point in time. As we mentioned earlier, we're still dealing with $2001 and 2008 costs. Doing what we've always done, using the same formulas, same strategies, have not proven in the long run to be good for our economy, for job growth, for health care costs. And as a result, the taxpayers of Melrose and Wakefield really feel like we're paying more and getting less services. I think that I bring to this job an experience on the local level and on the state level, and I have a proven track record of results and positive change for these communities. You have characterized this race as old school versus new school, and you've described yourself as the old school conservative. How are you, as the old school conservative, going to bring about change that I feel is necessary for Melrose and Wakefield on Beacon Hill?
How long do I have to answer this? How long?
1 minute.
Oh, good, okay. It's a great question, and I'm glad you brought it up, because a lot of you don't know who I am and don't know a whole lot about me other than I own a little real estate shop down the street. I have been in the real estate business for almost 20 years, and I work very closely with the Massachusetts Association of Realtors, and I work very closely with the National Association of Realtors. I am a federal public coordinator for the National Association of Realtors, and what that is that's a liaison between Congress and the National Association of Realtors. And as a matter of fact, my contact is Ed Markey in Medford. So I go to DC every year and lobby for private property rights. I go to the State House every year and lobby for people like you. And that is the newness that I can bring and the experience that I can bring as far as old versus new. So I am the old school guy. I was born and raised here. I echo what you have to say, but there's a lot about me that you don't know, and I can bring that to the table without any problem.
Catherine, do you want to respond? You have 30 seconds.
I think what we really are poised as a state and as a community, we're really at a crossroads, and I think that what I bring to this job as state representative is a good combination of local experience here on the school committee, volunteering in our schools and with our seniors, as a mom of 3 boys in the Melrose Public Schools, and somebody who's really chosen to make a commitment to these communities. And I think that I bring with that 18 years of experience in getting stuff done with the state budgets and really pushing legislation forward. And I think that is the positive change we need.